Hello, the name is Osvaldo Antonio Nyaka, and welcome to another one of these short videos where we just discuss human behavior principles. And the purpose of me shooting these videos is that you can pick up a lesson or two that you can implement and apply in your own life in the areas of human behavior. Doesn't matter which area of life, but essentially the aim of these videos is to help you empower all 7 areas of your life. And these 7 areas of life include financial, family, your social, your spiritual, your vocational, your mental, as well as your. I mentioned 5 of them, 6 of them. I'm just going to run through them again. I don't know why, but the thought just slipped my mind. So the first one is your financial area of life. This has to do with money, income, business, and how you handle your finances. Then the second one is your family aspect of life. The family aspect of life could be your direct family, your extended family, such as cousins, or anything that is related to family. Could even be your kids directly. Could be the spouse that you have. Then you have your social area of life. Your social area of life has to do with the community, the world at large, and how you want to impact that and how you relate to that area of life. Then your spiritual aspect, which is the fourth one, has to do with your inspired message or your inspired mission in life. I always say that spirituality has to do with the thing that you're most inspired about, that you want to most accomplish in life. That's how I define spirituality, although I know that there are many different definitions for it, but that's how I define it. Then you got your vocational area of life. Your vocational area of life is the thing that you most would love to do, that you want to contribute to the world as work. What's the work that you want to dedicate your life to? And I find that once you find this meaning of the vocation of the work that you want to do, it really impacts every other area of life. Then we've got your physical area of life. Your physical area, of course, has to do with your body, with the physical essence of your body, but not just how your body looks on the outside, but also your internal systems, your cellular level, to all the way from how also you look, whether you're handsome, beautiful, or that sort of area of life. Then the seventh one has to do with your mental area of life. Has to do with how you think, how you relate, and your genius level, your own unique genius. And I believe that in all of these 7 areas of life, we all have a uniqueness that is seeking to be expressed. How we express this uniqueness all has to do with the permission that we give ourselves and how big of a game that we want to play. And the greatest thing in being able to awaken the different powers in these 7 areas of life, it all depends on the quality of the questions that you ask. And also it depends on what you know, because what you know essentially leads to you living a more fulfilled life. And so part of what I love to do is to just expand human consciousness and awareness in hopes that you can take the information and make use of it. So today's principle, we're going to be looking at something that is very interesting. We're going to be looking at the dynamics of memetic desires. This was coined by a French philosopher by the name of René Girard. So René Girard, in studying human behavior, what he discovered when it comes to desires, human desires, he discovered that as human beings, we don't desire things in isolation. We desire things in relation to how other people desire them. So, for a quick example, in his own personal life, when he was younger, he was in a relationship. And him being in this relationship, his partner was pushing for them to get married. And at that moment, he's like, nope, I'm not ready for it. I do not want to get married. So he pushed away and he did not want to get married. Now, when she pushed away, she finally relented and said, well, okay, You don't want to get married, it's not for me. Well, it's not for you, then therefore we can't be in a relationship together. Then it turns out that a few weeks, a few months later, then she started dating other people. And the moment she started to date other people was when he ignited his desire to want to be with her. So now, because more people desired her, now his desire level also went up for her, which then he described that as a memetic desire. So memetic desire has to do with the fact that we desire things because other people desire them. So in other words, we model our desires based on an external influence. How to think of this memetic desire is to think of it as the subject object. You're being the subject and the object that you want most. And in between you and the object that you want, there is a module that you follow. And in being able to identify what that module is, it lets you know why you want the thing that you want. So for instance, if you want to get into a relationship with someone, what is that module that you're following that tells you that this is the type of relationship that you should be in? And in being able to discover that, you then will know that whether are you really desiring the thing that you want because you really want it, or you're desiring it because of an external force. And how you can discover this, that whether the thing that you desire is coming from the inside or from the outside, is when you use the comparative language. So if you ever find yourself using a comparative language of, I should be wanting this because of A, B, and C, or I must want my relationship to look exactly like this, or I should be working at a job that looks like this. I should be leading myself socially. I should be hanging out with certain people because this is what it looks like. Then you know that you're following a model that is outside of you. So the model that you're following is an outside influence. Whereas when you're being led internally by the desires that you truly want, your authentic desires, in this language, you're using more language of want to and love to, because at the language of love to and want to, what you're doing is you're looking inwardly to express yourself across those 7 areas of life. And how you express yourself most authentically in those 7 areas of life is by first understanding who you are. And in learning who you are, knowing who you are, the greatest thing I always tell people, and I never do a talk, a consultation, or get into a conversation about human behavior without actually ever not mentioning the fact that you have to know what your hierarchy of values are. Because once you know what your hierarchy of values are, then you're able to know yourself. And in knowing what your hierarchy of values are, you know why you make certain decisions. And in knowing your hierarchy of values, you then know who your intrinsic self is and the things that you truly want to desire. So in knowing your hierarchy of values, what you're then doing is you're actually transcending this mimetic desire, because you're saying, I want and I love this thing that I want because it's part of my calling. It's part of the thing that I want to most accomplish in life, that spiritual mission that I want to accomplish. And that's why I'm desiring. So the first step is always, like I said, is to know what your hierarchy of values is. And for me, the greatest tool that I've come across to determine your hierarchy of values is actually called the DiMartini value determination process. And in the value determination process, it doesn't show you what the fantasy of what you want is. It shows you what the reality of the thing that you want most. Because in there, what you're unlocking is you're unlocking your top 3 to 4 priorities. And in unlocking your top 3 to 4 priorities, you're then able to then say, okay, these are the things that I most desire in life because I want to accomplish these things because they are intrinsically driven. Then the second thing then is, once you then find out what your hierarchy of values is to then do the second thing, which the Delphic Oracle always spoke about, is to actually then be yourself. And in being yourself, what you're trying to do is you are essentially setting out your life, setting out the things that you want to mostly do according to your hierarchy of values. So you first awaken that intrinsic value that's within, then you ask yourself the questions of how do I mostly, what are the actions that I can do to mostly fulfill these hierarchy of values? So for instance, if you awaken and you find that your hierarchy of values is perhaps to start a great family, then second to that is to have a great business, then third to that is to make a social difference. What you're then asking yourself is, what are the actions that I can take on a daily basis that will mostly accomplish these three things? And by setting out your days, setting out your actions in relation to that, you now are able to be yourself without being driven from the outside. Remember, without being in that mimetic desire condition. We'll call that a condition, the condition of mimetic desires, because you're then saying, I want to mostly accomplish this because it's being driven from within. So you're transcending that outside module and you're looking within. And by looking within, again, you're saying, this is who I intrinsically am outside of all these modules that are trying to run me. Then the third part to that is to love yourself. And in loving yourself, the greatest method that I've come across is called the DiMartini method, which is a scientific way of asking valuable questions that awaken all these 7 areas of life. So what we do with the DiMartini method is we take you through a 14-step process or a 14 question process where you're then able to take all your past actions and inactions and you're able to see the hidden order in all these actions. And by you overcoming or bringing balance to all these past actions, which we could label them, sometimes we see that they could either be infatuations or resentments that you might have to your past actions, and you're able to love yourself wholeheartedly, you're then able to be more integrated and see that there's nothing to change within yourself. And by being in that state of that state of unconditional love, you're then able to then go back within yourself and transcend that mimetic desires that the world could be imposing on you. Because remember that, not remember, because obviously I didn't mention it earlier in the talk, but remember that each one of us has a unique hierarchy of values. And each one of us is seeking to fulfill their own unique hierarchy of values. So you could find that the reason why you're in this condition of this mimetic desire is because you believe that someone else's hierarchy of values is more important than yours. So you're trying to be something that you're not in trying to perhaps accomplish something that is being imposed on you from the outside. So all these mimetic desires are the result or feedbacks of the fact that you're trying to live according to someone else's hierarchy of values. But when you're able to then again go through the DiMartini method, look at your past actions, equilibrate them by bringing them to balance. If it's something that you're overly infatuated with, bring your negatives to it, bring in that balance point, and anything that you're in resentment with, bring it up by finding the benefits to it and equilibrating it. Then you're then able to then go back to your hierarchy of values and see that there was nothing to change in relation to your hierarchy of values in wanting to impose other people's values onto yours, or by trying to impose your own values onto other people. And that can sometimes happen where, because you think your values are most important, you then try to have other people mimic you. So you can impose a mimetic desire upon other people, and you, in the same way that you can copy other people's desires. And anytime you're being run from the outside, just know that you're giving your power away. And one of my favorite philosophers and writers actually put this into a beautiful 2 sentence when he said his name was Ralph Waldo Emerson. You can see why I like him. I mean, his name is Waldo, so it kind of rhymes with Osvaldo for some reason. So I was meant to find this guy. But he said it so beautifully when he said that envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. If you ever get the chance to read his discourses, please do look it up. He's got so much wisdom and so much profoundness. And And him saying that envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide, what he meant by that is that when you envy somebody's talents or somebody's ability to for greatness, what you're actually doing is you're actually being ignorant of your own greatness and your own capacity to contribute to humanity. And anytime you try to imitate somebody else, you're committing suicide and killing off your soul because you're trying to be something that you're not. So, so just look up the mimetic desires and actually see how these modules are influencing your life. And remember that to transcend these mimetic desires, you essentially go within, find out what your hierarchy of values is, what is it that your life really demonstrates, the things that you really want to accomplish in life in terms of being a contribution to humanity, and awaken that by taking the steps of saying, okay, these are the actions that I'm going to take towards fulfilling these hierarchy of values. And the third thing I would say that learn to be in gratitude and love for all the actions that you've taken, whether they've served, whether the actions that you did went against society or someone else. Learn to love every aspect of yourself. So thank you, and love and wisdom.